So after 30 years, y'all think we want to see cameos. Cameo after cameo. Why y'all playing with us like this? Y'all really brought Vanessa Bell Calloway back to bark. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Coming to America, available right now to be watched on Amazon Prime. Now, I did do a trailer reaction to this movie, and it pretty much lays out everything that I do have to say about this movie. I recommend that you watch it because I got everything I needed to get from that trailer. But that did not stop me from going into this movie hoping for decent. No, just decent. Before I get into what we got and what wasn't decent about this film, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss all things the fuckery. Let's get into this movie. Now, go and check out my trailer reaction if you really want to get an in-depth description of what I thought the problems were going to be and what came into fruition, because they were. Here, I'm just going to talk about what I hated. Hated it, what I didn't like, what didn't make sense, what was really tragic in comparison to a really great movie. Like, who went to the drawing board and came up with this? It was almost like a parody of Coming to America. Let's start with the PG-13 rating. I knew we were doomed when we saw that. Now, granted, the first one is rated R, but it's not, so much, grotesque things. It's rated R for a reason. There's certain things being said, a little nudity, some raunchiness. So I'm like, okay, we're going for a certain target, where all genres and ages can watch this because it's PG-13. Cool. Cameos. Why? It was literally laughable at how many cameos we got into, and we weren't even 10 minutes into the film. We see Louie Anderson from the first movie, John Amos from the first movie, Michael Blackson, Rick Ross, Morgan Freeman, Gladys Knight. Why? So we start off with the movie trying to get into the characters. 30 years later, we get the best thing about the beginning was Shari Headley looked good. She looked good. But we try to get into, the palace, what's going on, and Eddie Murphy not having an heir to the throne because he doesn't have any sons, and women aren't allowed to rule over Zamunda. Lion King. Anybody else was getting Lion King because I was getting Lion King. Once we got into the opening scene and the animals, and it looked very live action CGI Lion King, even though Lion King looked way better than what we got here. Just the look overall, everything looks so cheap. I don't know what back lot this was filmed on, what sound stage, green screen. How y'all make the palace look small? How we do that? How y'all make the African garb and the clothes look cheap? Everything here looked like a knockoff cheap version of Wakanda. Things that were worn in Black Panther. It was just like, why does this look so costumey? It looks so jarring in comparison to that first kingdom, that first palace, that first introduction to Akeem and all the jewels, and everything looked really authentic. Everything looked real marketplace, $5.99. We also get into, King Joffrey about to die, and we need an heir and all these things. When did he get so disrespectful? It was just so mean. And I'm like, we brought Eddie Murphy back here a second time to be a punk. At what transition did we see that he was a punk? He's trying to get an heir, and I don't have a son, and we have all these daughters, but I'm trying to do something because I am scared of the general, played by Wesley Snipes, and I am in fear, and I haven't been taught to protect myself. I haven't been taught these things. I've been in a bubble my whole life, and now that my dad's about to go, everything's about to go haywire, shit's about to hit the fan, I'm about to be attacked. How is that in connection with the first Akeem we saw in Coming to America? Nothing about him seemed, frightful, scared, unable to defend. He spends a good chunk of that movie handling himself against, Samuel L. Jackson's character, Shari Headley's boyfriend in the movie. It's so many instances where he was very proved. Even in the beginning when, he's sparring with Simi, with Arsenio Hall's character, I'm like, what was the sense in bringing him back and making him a frightful king? But okay. Then we get into Simi, all the spitting and disrespect at Simi with, him withholding the information about him having a son. And it was like, what? After we threw around bastard 100 times. They said bastard so many times in this movie. We get into Wesley Snipes being the general and coming. Wesley did a good job here. I did not mind Wesley, even, the wig. I didn't mind any of that. It was fine. He comes in and goes, he's, concentrating on, trying to marry into the family. And, hey, we need to make this happen. You don't have any sons. And look what you did to my sister, who is Miss Grand Vanessa Bell Calloway. Now, granted, Coming to America was a lot of these actresses start. But I didn't see the sense in bringing back, Fancy, Jamie Foxx Fancy, and Vanessa to not have any lines, not have any prominence in the film. They were just there, just to drop. So many names there to drop, but still, like, they brought her back to bark. She came in, same dress, same to bark. And I was like, oh. It's like some parody stuff happening. Like, oh, this is that kind of comedy. We're far removed from, the more so intelligent, thoughtful jokes that we're coming across. In the first one, this is just hit you over the head, slapstick, dumbass comedy. Don't disrespect them like this. So we get into Rafiki. I'm going to call him Rafiki. More Lion King. I was like, what? Why is he looking like Rafiki? And it's, it don't even matter because nothing in this movie mattered. Okay. We get into the flashback and we get this heavy, club. My name is Peaches club. We get into the club flashback and we get a de-aged, in transition because at first it's just, flashbacks from the actual first movie. And then we transition into CGI, de-aged Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, and it looks so horrible. Like it almost looks scary. Then we are introduced to Miss Leslie Jones, who's here to be Leslie Jones, who's here to be the only character they allow Leslie Jones to play, the loud Black woman. But cool, we find out he does have a son, a bastard son. He has a bastard son. And, disrespectful Joffrey, who is all of a sudden, super disrespectful in this film. Super honorary, even though he was a little bit in the first one, but it wasn't so much that it was just like unlikable. I was like, ugh. He's like, you know what? I'm about to die soon. Let's hold it while I'm alive. Let's hold my funeral while I'm alive. Fancy comes out, and Vogue comes out, Salt and Pepper comes out, Gladys Knight comes out, and Morgan Freeman comes out to read his eulogy. Why? Why? It was so bad, y'all. I had to pause it just to laugh because I just couldn't believe what I was seeing on screen. I didn't expect anything just so elaborate from this movie and just so great. I didn't expect this either, though. Like, it was so bad that it was laughable. And the movie hadn't been on 20 minutes. And I just, once we were leaving on the midnight train to Zamunda, I backed up. No. Once King jumped, once he hit that, I'm dying, son. Okay, but we now go on this wild goose chase with Eddie Murphy to, you know, find his son so he can have this heir, because he's so scared of General Wesley Snipes, who has, you know, all this renegade army. And when did Coming to America become a musical? What was all the music and... I get it, they were trying to recapture, you know, that beautiful scene of those dancers coming in, that iconic, you know, the dancers coming in before the queen to be comes in and they're dancing and they're really beautiful. This was not that. This was none of that. You bring in Gladys and Salt and Pepper and disrespect. But after we, you know, leave our 3 daughters and our wife, who hold no merit here. I mean, they gave Shari Headley a lot of lines here, but the contrast of the arguments that they were having and the disagreements and the way that Akeem was behaving was nothing that enhanced anything from the first. It was like they were still in transition of moving to Zamunda and still, you know, kind of getting to know each other, and hadn't really gotten to, like, why doesn't he know, you know, American slang and vernacular and simple things that he would know if he was married to an American woman? Or you didn't know that, oh, well, he didn't honor, you know, changing any policies as a king this whole time we've been married, but I'm just gonna mention it right now, 30 years later. Whatever. And then, you know, we have what was going on with Eddie Murphy and everybody's accents. How do we get an accent pretty much right 30 years ago, and then we bring it here and it just sounds off? And when the daughters had a little bit of an accent, it disappeared, then it came back, and disappeared and came back again. So we fly back to Queens to find our son, you know, because Rafiki had a vision. Very Lion King had a vision. And this is what his son looks like. So where do we go? As soon as we get there, we go to that same barbershop where these barbers are about, I don't know, 167, and get information on where our son is. We had already had a previous scene with the son and with Tracy Morgan, you know, playing Tracy Morgan. You know, why switch it up? Same Tracy Morgan get up. I think Tracy Morgan just wore his regular shit. We have this really, you know, racist conversation. This really racist interview, really racist dated interview, you know, about having a dad, not having a dad, and really not funny. A lot of this movie was not funny. Nothing was funny. I didn't laugh one time. When I did, I wasn't supposed to be. But we, you know, go into the barbershop and we get more really dated racist jokes. Now, me, I am not the one to be, you know, in the millennial and be one of those, because, you know, we get told, oh, we can't have the same comedy and outpour of, you know, movies and things like we had, you know, in the 80s and the 90s, because people are so sensitive now. I am not that person. I love all of that stuff that is considered a no-no today, that would get you canceled today. I love it. no, it wasn't funny. It was really dated and just dry. I was like, y'all got into all that makeup for this? The makeup. We had already left Rafiki. Then we get to the old man. I'm like, oh, so we wait 30 years later to do okay makeup that doesn't compare to the first movie. Cool. So we find our son and we get more into Leslie Jones being loud as Leslie Jones. I really wish they give her some growth. Like, let this lady be something else besides the loud black woman in the room. We get into them, you know, you're a prince, I don't need any handouts. No, first we get into Eddie Murphy not wanting to, you know, just step out. Everything, you know, happened at convenience for us to get a flashback from the first film. So instead of him just stepping out and telling him, hey, you're my son, he has to go and find the same get up from the first Coming to America when they first arrived in New York in the 80s. Because that was just lying around, you know what I'm saying? But we get into them, you know, being really comfortable with going back to Africa because we're poor and we're in Queens and we're ghetto. Because why wouldn't they be? We get into, you know, them coming back to about this young man, the young man who portrayed, you know, Prince Akeem's son here. Go and watch Sorry Not to Bother You. Go and watch that, starring Lakeith. And this young man also, he did really well here. This movie shows no showcasing of his actual acting talents and his, yeah. But we get into them, you know, going back to the palace and being ghetto and loud and uncomfortable in the palace. I just kept getting distracted by the palace itself. And, you know, even when they were, you know, at the table, because, you know, all this long ass table, all this gonna be yours, son, because you a prince. I was like, that table is so small. Everything was just small. Everything was a miniature of the first movie. Now we have more, you know, back and forth from the daughter who clearly wants to be the heir. And just like with the rest of this movie, the storyline really holds no merit. It's nothing to get you interested, to care about. It's just blah. We get into, you know, him adjusting to being a prince and this piss poor storyline of him falling in love with the barber, beautician, whatever. Everything here was so weak. So weak. And was trying to rehatch what happened in the first movie really badly. Y'all gonna give us the same movie twice? Worse? I am so glad I didn't have to pay and go to any theaters to see this movie because I would have been so pissed off. But after we, you know, get into our prince duties and we brought Tracy Morgan back and we do, you know, simple as tropes like the bathing and all y'all gonna bathe me naked or what? Hey ma, whatever. We get into Teyana Taylor. Teyana Taylor is here. Because why not? Rick Ross was here. Teyana can be here. Teyana Taylor is brought back to be a prop. To be a rehatching of what Vanessa Bell Calloway was in the first film. Once they gave old boy to Mike and I thought he was finna belt out She's Your Queen to Be, because if we gonna do everything the same, might as well, you know? No. We get into a musical rendition of Prince's Get Off. You know, 21 positions in a one night stand. Get off. Don't do my Prince like, I love Prince. Don't do Prince like that, y'all. She's here, you know, just to be sexy and not have any real dialogue. I'm so glad she didn't, because the African accent she had was tired as well. This movie was trash. This movie was trash. This movie was trash. Y'all could have kept it. We didn't want it. We didn't want it. We would have wanted it, you know, like 99, 95, maybe 2001. Not right now. It's too late. It's too late. So after Eddie Murphy agrees, you know, to let Eddie Eddie, let Wesley and his, family marry, because his whole objective here is to marry into the family so they can share some of that wealth. We get into the prince training and him needing to get the whiskers of a lion. That CGI fake ass lion. The plot was so weak and so uninteresting. I found myself sitting and just waiting for it to be over. I was just like, how much more of this do I have to bear to give you guys this review? Just say that I watched it so you didn't have to. And we get further into things like Eddie Murphy, learning to do a cool walk and, hey ho. Why are we not knowing any of these things or doing any of these things prior to now? You have been married to a black woman from Queens for 30 years. So after we get into, the brother and sister coming together with this stupid ass lion plot, with some friskies, because, why not? Lions like friskies. We get into this stupid circumcision scene. Why everything had to be so stupid? Why? If we were going to rehatch the first movie, let's just do that to a T with the younger generation and, keep it logical. I'm like, we're going to bring everybody back. Let's bring back Shari Headley's sisters. Let's bring back Daryl from the first. Let's just bring back everybody. Let's just rehash. Maybe Daryl could come back, trying to get her back. Something. Give me something, because this movie gave me nothing. It was just convenient things happening for us to bring back old people from the first movie. Like y'all even found time to, have a talk and bring back Babar, the damn elephant from the first one. They really said, hey, what all can we bring back? Let's bring back, hell, bring back Cuba Gooding Jr. sitting in that barber chair. Like, y'all, if we're going to bring everybody, let's just bring everybody back. And then in this day and age, I didn't see any merit in them trying to depict Zamunda as this, anti-woman ass place. Like, oh, we're not, like, damn, are they allowed to vote? Like, we're not allowed to own bit. Like, we kept everything the same. We threw that in there though, because that added something to the plot. Once we got into the rehashing of, the forced marriage and him not wanting to marry her, and Teyana hit us with that, whatever you like. Bitch, y'all, I was done. I was so done. Like, her coming in, in the gold and the outfit. Like, we don't want to see that. We know Teyana fine. We know she have abs. I don't care about that. I want some story. I want something to be attentive to besides, Wesley Snipes running around with guns and never shooting anybody. Them coming in having dance breaks and cheap ass warrior princess clothes. Like, why? We end off the movie going into a complete reenactment of the first movie. The son leaving, wanting to, marry, but it's just, flip-flopping. He goes back to Queens, and Eddie Murphy being upset like his father was upset with him in the first one. And, we get a little sprinkle of a cameo with John Amos, the wonderful John Amos. And we use that to talk about fucking McFlurries, whatever. And this whole plot of them getting married and going back to Queens was just an excuse to bring back the preacher from the first one for 2 seconds. This was so disappointing and so bad. Like, it was giving me Tyler Perry. And then, we leave the daughter alone to defend the kingdom with Simi, swept off a baboon's balls. Like, we just and all it takes, to get Wesley Snipes and his goons in check is a brief ass whooping that we could have gave long ago. That she gave. Not Eddie Murphy finally realizing that, because, he was a punk. P-U-N-K, ho. This has been the king for 30 years. We end off with the wedding in a damn electric slide like every other wedding. Like, this is, y'all trying to get some best man on? What y'all gonna play just like Candy next? Then we bring out Mr. Randy Watson, who looks every bit of Rasputia and Norbit. And of course, you know, we couldn't finish with that. We had to bring out My Name is Peaches and I'm the Best. We had to bring them out for a 2-second rap cameo. Because, you know, there was a shortage of people to bring out. We didn't bring out enough fucking people from the first movie. As you guys can see, I completely hated this movie. I hated the look of the film. I hated the cheapness of the attire. I hated the acting, the accents, the storyline, the reenactment of things from the first movie that don't make sense here and aren't logical and didn't flow and wasn't enough in the characters or with the acting for us to care. The knockoff Wakanda of it all. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. Such a disappointment. Such a great cast. Could have been so good and it was not. I really hope that you guys take out a moment to go and watch my trailer reaction in the in-depthness that I go into as to what the problems would be with this film and why. I couldn't give you guys that a second time here. I just wanted to, you know, give a little rant on the mess because I knew it wasn't going to just be an immaculate film. I knew it wouldn't come close to the first film. Didn't think it would be this though. Tired. Y'all tried it. All y'all. You guys, that was my take on the movie. Please drop down and tell me how you felt about it. If you watched this and you laughed and it was so good, something's wrong with you because it was trash. See you guys next time. Bye.